Well, thank you. So glad that you are here. As we shift gears, roll those shoulders back, take a deep breath, and hold it for 4 seconds. Feel your feet on the floor in this space. After the 4 seconds, you can exhale. Just get your brain ready to move into a different kind of space. So, my friends, I wonder, during the course of your week or even your day, in a daily kind of rhythm, do you take time to quiet your mind? Do you do that with some kind of intention or with practice? In all honesty, when I ask myself that question, I kind of want to laugh at that question. But I'm like, yeah, right. I just have that feeling of, wow, quiet is so hard. I think particularly, that's how I feel in my particular life stage, like working full time and having children and being married and being like all the things. Time is so precious, and so even like time when I'm lying in bed in the morning, like already my brain's going thinking about things. I'm like sermon writing, or I'm I'm in the space of being productive. And like when I'm driving the car, like even when those would be moments that could potentially be quiet times, I could be praying, or I am praying at those times. And so it's like I don't let things be still. Because I just know that time is valuable. And so my brain is so often doing all of the things all of the time and multitasking. And so when I ask this question of like, oh yeah, being quiet, what does that look like in my life? You're just going to go, right, yeah, that. I'm like, yes, absolutely in theory. But what about in practice? So I just want to confess on like the front end of this conversation that we are going to have today, that this is a really hard thing for me to do, to like make time to be quiet. And focus on the one thing, and ice cream or whatever it is, right, Megan? Yeah, and just be in that moment. So I just want to like name that, and does anyone else want to just join me in naming the challenge of that as we start this conversation? Okay, sweet, thank you. Solidarity fist bump. Okay, awesome. So, which is why today it is so good that in this conversation that we're having this month and beyond, in these 6 weeks, that we get to have this conversation around meditation. Meditation is a practice, which is really a word that we're using in this season, that prayer is a practice as well, that it's something that takes practice, that we shouldn't just naturally be good at, but you keep at it knowing that it's never something that's like, got it, check it off, got it, all done. But meditation absolutely is a practice of prayer. And it is one that's used across various religious traditions. And I've really discovered that there's no like hard and fast way to define meditation. I think what Sean said earlier is great. It's because it's most commonly recognized as this practice of quieting down our mind and particularly being attentive to our breath and present in our bodies. Which I love that, because I think about where we've been in the last 2 weeks. If you've been here 2 weeks ago, we talked about our bodies and the goodness of our bodies and how we can experience the presence of God in our bodies. And then last week was our conversation around fasting, about what it means to cease, to intentionally give up comfort and to take on this practice of sacrifice. And so I feel like in many ways meditation is pulling together those two things, making space in our bodies to breathe and be present, and paying attention to our thoughts and letting them go, just letting them go by without actually reacting to them, just noticing them, imagining like our thought floating by like a boat on a river, like, oh, I'm thinking about that, that's interesting, versus like getting caught up in the emotion of it, just watching them float by. Like, doesn't it sound lovely, just kind of be in that space? Whew. So do you ever practice meditation like this? Are you open to exploring what meditation might look like as a practice for you? Cool. Well, if you are someone who's like, I don't know, if you're on the fence, I just want to name something, that meditation is not only something that resonates with the Jesus story and the life of God, but it's so clear that science and research like all cheer for meditation like as this universally awesome thing for the human condition. Studies continue to show, I just want to ask my slide people, do we have my slides back there? Okay. So slides continue to show just the benefits of meditation. So meditation reduces anxiety, particularly social anxiety, just having that regular rhythm of meditation. Just a few days of practicing meditation, it improves concentration and attention. Could use some of that. It can help with addiction work. Taking even just short breaks of meditation for kids, it helps them perform better in school. Megan, who's a teacher, is going, yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm. But also, meditation reduces activity of monkey mind. Do you know what I mean by monkey mind? Do you know what I'm talking about? I'm not talking about this guy. Or this guy. Or this guy. Is that it? Okay, he was my favorite. That guy was weird. So monkey mind is often the phrase that's used to the way our brains function sometimes. They just like jump around like a monkey from like one thing to the next. When we're not thinking about anything in particular, they just like jump around and just going from thought to thought. And it's typically associated actually with being less happy because we end up doing more worry when we're in that monkey mind place. Anyone else have an active monkey mind? Like at 3 a.m. in the morning? Like that's monkey mind. That's like what that is right there. So taming our monkeys seems like a really great practice to have, right? This practice of meditation. So science agrees that meditation, the stopping and quieting our mind, is recognized as universally awesome for our well-being and our physical and emotional health. So why don't we do it? Why don't you do it? Well, if your reason is that you don't know how, or you'd never really thought about it, today is a great day to start. So we're going to experience 3 different ways to meditate in this time that we have in the next few minutes. So we're going to get a triple dose of awesome together. So get ready. But I want to begin with the first one now. So I will say that if you were here last week, then you know that we used the song of response, like the song that we usually sing after kind of the sermon time. We usually have like a time to sing. Last week, do you remember what we did? We sat in silence. So it's like, okay, now we're going to sing, but not. We're just going to be here in silence. So like practice that fasting by being quiet and kind of having that time of fasting from song and just pausing and ceasing. And so in many ways, what we're about to do now will kind of appear to be the same thing that we did last week, because in many ways, it'll just look like we're sitting here in silence. But the whole point is to enter into it with intention and awareness. So let me walk us into this. So friends, do get comfortable in your seat. Like, if don't have anything that you're holding on to, kind of set stuff aside. Get comfortable and turn your attention inward. Just become aware of you, your body in this space. You can close your eyes if you would like to, if that's kind of makes it easier for you to focus. Just check in and see how you're feeling. How does your body feel? What's the quality of your mind? Are you busy-brained, monkey-brained? Are you feeling tired, anxious? Do you have a stuffy nose like me? Are you feeling grateful? However you're feeling, see whatever you're feeling as completely okay. And that is just what you are bringing into this practice. Now that you're settled in, I want you to turn your attention to your breath. Just place the attention on your breath as it comes in. Follow it through your nose all the way down into your lungs. Follow it back out as you exhale. Just be aware of that breath. That's where your attention should be this whole time. You can also try breathing in the word love as you take that breath in, and then breathe out the word love as you breathe out. But keep that attention on the breath. One way to experience this is to receive our breath in as the loving flow of God, and our exhale is the flow of God's love extended out to others. But our attention keeps on that breath, moving in and out like the flow of the tide, the waves that come up on the shore. So we're going to spend a few moments in this space, but as your mind wanders, simply come back to that word love. Bring your attention back to that breath. Your mind will wander. When it does, just kind of smile and just like gently return to your breath. See each time that we wander off in our thoughts as an opportunity to come back to that return to God's love in our breath. And when you notice thoughts and feelings arising, as they will, look at them with a friendly attitude. See them as friends, not intruders in this experience. They are part of you. So be friendly and not harsh. Notice them with curiosity. Watch them float by on that river like a boat. And choose to observe just each thought with kindness, returning to that breath every time. So we'll stay in this place of quiet, meditating, breathing for a few minutes. invite you to stay in the space where you find yourself with eyes closed if you'd like. So don't let your brain get too caught up in what I'm saying, but stay connected to your breath because we're going to try another practice in a moment. But I just wonder how you're experiencing this. What we did, this kind of meditation that creates space, like fasting, it's sparse, it's simple, it's about opening and quieting and befriending ourselves. And why I think this form of meditation is so valuable, I just wanted to be sure that we tried it, is that being still and non-judgmental and curious like this, present in our bodies, it draws us deeply into ourselves to know afresh that heartbeat of God within us. We're attuned to God's heartbeat in the quiet. We feel in our bones and breath that we are made in the image of God. That the Spirit of God holds us and resides within us. We find ourselves in those moments when we have wandered and choose to bring our attention back to our breath, that we're returning to that love of God, feeling that embrace and heartbeat. Another form of meditation that we'll try involves listening for that heartbeat that is in us, but also seeing how it resonates in something else, something that we meditate on. We focus a little more attention outside of ourselves, like on a piece of art or a piece of scripture. We're going to practice two forms now simultaneously of doing that, a piece of art and a piece of scripture. And the first practice is, as Sean named, one that we've done before, Lectio Divina. In our book, Justin, actually, if you've read the meditation, the reflection for today, when I read through it, he actually names this practice for this week. He uses Lectio Divina, which when I read that, I did like a little double arm pump of joy because I was like, awesome. Yes, this is a practice that we use here often in worship together as a way to listen for God in Scripture, which is so valuable. So for those who might be new to it, Lectio Divina, it's Latin. The words mean holy word or divine reading, and it's a practice that's been around since the 3rd century, where it just involves repeating a section of the Bible a few times and listening for a word that gets our attention or a phrase, and then holding that, asking God, what does that mean for my life right now? How is this speaking? How are you speaking into this? Which affirms, again, how the heartbeat of God can be heard and experienced in this living, breathing, yet ancient text that we call the Bible, which is pretty amazing. So alongside this practice of Lectio Divina, at the same time, we're going to use a painting as a focus for our meditation. The painting that was painted live this last Sunday, Scott Erickson, our painter the artist from our book, he painted it live. So I'm going to reveal that in a moment, which you may have seen, but we'll also put it on the screen in a minute. And so just, again, to use it to you can either focus in on it or not as part of kind of a parallel experience of Lectio Divina as well. Our reading you'll hear will resonate with the painting, and it's from the prophet Isaiah. In this season of Lent, as we examine who we are, we wrestle with who we know God to be as well, and it's an important part of our journey. And prophets in the Old Testament, prophets like Isaiah, they have this way of just calling us out into who we are, into who God is, beyond whatever box or limitations that we try to place around who God is. And so that's why we'll turn to this particular text for today. We're going to use the Message version, so it's just slightly different language than you may have heard before. We're going to work through this, all right? So stay in the zone, but kind of roll your shoulders back, get comfortable. As we settle into this space, there are 4 steps to Lectio Divina. The first is reading. So I'll get the painting ready as well. So just staying in a place connected to your breath and attentive, our first time reading through the text, we hear it with no real agenda, just to kind of get familiar with it. So this is Isaiah 40, verses 28 through 31, the Message version. You can focus here, close your eyes, whatever you would like. God doesn't come and go. God lasts. He's creator of all you can see or imagine. He doesn't get tired out, doesn't pause to catch his breath, and he knows everything inside and out. He energizes those who get tired, gives fresh strength to dropouts. For even young people tire and drop out. Young folk in their prime stumble and fall. But those who wait upon God get fresh strength. They spread their wings and soar like eagles. They run and don't get tired. They walk and don't lag behind. Now I'll read it a second time, and this is a chance to listen for a word or phrase that touches your heart, that gets your attention. That's what we listen for, just one word or a short phrase. If you're a visual person, inside your bulletin, the little insert that's in there on the back side is that text. So if you want to look at it and see it, that's a way to have it in your hands. And as you listen, as we hear this, don't expect like lightning to strike. Just listen for a little something that shimmers for you. I usually find there's a couple things that do, but just pick one if there's more than one. And when the word or phrase is found, grab hold of it, just like in your mind. Just start reciting it, repeating it gently to reflect on during the silence that will follow the reading. So here it is again, Isaiah 40. God doesn't come and go. God lasts. He's creator of all you can see or imagine. He doesn't get tired out, doesn't pause to catch his breath. And God knows everything, inside and out. He energizes those who get tired, gives fresh strength to dropouts. For even young people tire and drop out. Young folk in their prime stumble and fall. But those who wait upon God get fresh strength. They spread their wings and soar like eagles. They run and don't get tired. They walk and don't lag behind. So if you're willing, I invite you just to share out loud so we can hear you the word or phrase that has touched your heart. We're just kind of saying the word or phrase, no commentary on that yet. So just kind of speak that out if that's comfortable for you. He energizes those who tire. Say it again. Young folk in their prime stumble and fall. Mm-hmm. God lasts. So thank you for sharing. The next step is reflection. So we're each going to ponder the word that has touched our heart and as we read through this again. So just ask kind of where the word or phrase touches our life today. So as we do this, don't be afraid of distractions. You know, it's kind of similar to the quiet meditation we just did. Memories or thoughts will come up, and that's simply just part of ourselves. So let that kind of show up, and that's okay. Embrace those things, and then continue to repeat the word or phrase. If you don't have one yet, you can still listen for that in this reading as well. Just holding that question, begin to ask, okay, God, why? Why is this coming up for me right now? And so as we listen again, we're going to have Tim read it so that we can hear it in a different voice.
God doesn't come and go. God lasts. He's creator of all you can see or imagine. He doesn't get tired out, doesn't pause to catch his breath, and he knows everything, inside and out. He energizes those who get tired, gives fresh strength to dropouts. For even young people tire and drop out. Young folk in their prime stumble and fall. But those who wait upon God get fresh strength. They spread their wings and soar like eagles. They run and they don't get tired. They walk and don't lag behind.
So we'll have a chance to share what we're hearing in a moment after this final reading as we move into the third step. So we've had reading and reflection, and now the third step is responding. So the third and final, not final, but the third and final reading is for the purpose of experiencing, just asking what God is calling us into. How should we respond? So what is God in this text planting in us? What is God saying in this painting to us, inviting us into? So God is always inviting us into transformation, to seeing things in a fresh way. So how are we invited to be or do or see things differently? So we listen for our response as we hear this passage a final time. God doesn't come and go. God lasts. He's creator of all you can see or imagine. He doesn't get tired out, doesn't pause to catch his breath. And he knows everything, inside and out. He energizes those who get tired, gives fresh strength to dropouts. For even young people tire and drop out. Young folk in their prime stumble and fall. But those who wait upon God get fresh strength. They spread their wings and soar like eagles. They run and don't get tired. They walk and don't lag behind. So now we make some space for those to share who would like to. You don't have to worry about sounding smart or insightful in what you share, and you can be brief in what you share. But I've noticed that when we take time to speak, that God always uses whatever we say to really be a blessing or to speak something to someone else who's in the room. So kind of our own courage to step into that space of sharing is always a gift to someone else. So I encourage you to step into that. And also, I just feel like we just are in a season in our country where we just long to hear words of grace from other people, right? And I feel like it's a great way to practice speaking words of grace together in this space. So we just want to hear, what's the word or phrase that spoke for you? And then why is that coming up for you? What's kind of the response or the why to why that is? So we're going to use the mic just so we can be sure to capture that. But if folks kind of let us know if you're willing to share, that'd be awesome.
It's crazy how the word changes every time you read it.
Oh, yeah.
The thing that came out was he knows all things. And I was thinking about those tough days when I feel like I'm surrounded by nothing but negative, and when it brings you down and you're like, I just need to tell somebody about this right now. Mm-hmm. But it's like, I don't have to. It's already there. Mm. There's somebody who gets it, who understands what it's going through, and that's refreshing enough to try again the next day.
Yeah. That phrase got me on the last reading, too. It's good.
So the first phrase, the God does not come and go, really speaks to me as a college student, just because I go to college and then I come home, and knowing that he's not going back and forth and he's always there.
Love that. Thank you.
My daughter and I think alike, come and go. But for me, it has a little bit different connotation. There's a lot of transition in my life, and there has been for quite some time. And so I sometimes struggle with feeling like there's direction that God is leading. And so to be reminded once again that he's always there, even though I don't know exactly where it is all going, but that he is that constant in all of it.
Mm-hmm. The unknowing is so hard, not knowing.
I feel like we get a very similar message to this from society at large a lot of times. It sounds really similar, but it's really contradictory. Know everything inside and out. Soar like eagles. Don't get tired. Don't lag behind. But we're kind of expected to do that as self-made men and women.
Yeah.
Whereas whenever I read this, it's like, this is how we approach this as created men and women rather than self-made. Like we can't pull ourselves up from, by our bootstraps and do everything on our own. That's like the self-made lie that we often get told by society.
Yeah.
Whereas if we could let go of that and be created men and women instead, then maybe we could by surrendering.
Yeah, how it's the letting go into this, like soar with. I love that. And yes. Yeah.
And mine, I guess, just adds to that. But those who wait upon God get fresh strength. And that spring is that time for new strength and new beginnings with all the new buds and just this new life around us. And I feel that we can get God's strength to give us that as well.
There's like beautiful white blossoms behind your head as I look at you. So yes. Yes. This. Yeah. I love that.
When Sarah and I were driving yesterday to Tacoma, we passed by several churches that had names, and we were kind of laughing about it. But the churches were like Epic Church, and just like these big action words, like Flying Eagle Church or whatever. It was like these big active things. And I was like, Salt House isn't like that. It's like more subversive and sort of worked in. And so the text about God being in all things is really, I think, speaks to me. It's like God is the flying eagle. God is the subversive, sort of worked into our skin kind of God as well. So both of those things apply in a lot of ways. So God is in all things.
Yeah. I think the thing with Lectio is like hearing that and letting it seep deeply into a very personal, present thing, as well as the like epic thing of like God is in all things, but God is in all things. And just letting that really hit us in the very real ways in which we're engaging with the world. Thank you all for sharing. As we stay in this response space, there are two specific ways I want to invite you to respond today. The first is to answer the question that only you can answer, and it's the question of what would it look like for you to practice meditation this week in one of the ways that we've tried, perhaps, to make time to stop and breathe and connect with your body. So what might that look like? Maybe when you first wake up in the morning, and I would invite you before you leave today to make a commitment about what that would look like. Maybe set a reminder on your phone so it's actually on your schedule, so it comes up. And then to aid you in that, I prepared it's a one-page sheet about meditation. It has kind of more about how to enter into it. So that's, be sure to grab that on your way out today to kind of help you find that space. So that's the first response is, what is this going to look like this week? The second one is for a way to respond in the next few minutes. Between now and when you come up to receive communion, you're invited to write down your prayers. You got that little piece of paper and a pen as you walked in. If you need one, you can go grab one during communion. They're over by the entry. But just, again, like what we've done before, it's asking this question, what's the one thing that you pray for today, the thing that is on your heart for yourself, for someone else, and to write that down. And please write a short phrase that captures that. We'll speak it as it's written after communion anonymously, so there's a lot of freedom in what you can write in that. Also write clearly, because we're going to be reading those. But these prayers, again, it's just a way for us to pray together as a community in this season. So if you would like it prayed for, please do that. Obviously, you don't have to, but please consider that. So as we finish our time together in Lectio, the fourth final step of Lectio is simply to remain, to dwell, to rest in who we are as the beloved of God, and just to hold whatever we've heard spoken through the Bible, through each other, as a word of grace and a word of hope for us. For God most certainly speaks through us as a gift to one another. So as you remain, as we just close this time, let's hold this sacred space with and for each other as the band comes up. And as they do, I invite you to perhaps close your eyes and get in touch with your breath again. And if you're comfortable, even put your palms on your lap, your palms up on your lap.